What's poppin', players? Welcome back to a Two Penny Game Club, your monthly video game book club. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friends and co-hosts. Say hello to the people, Connor, Elliott.
Hi, guys. How you doing on this wonderful review day?
Review day. It's a big day, Game Club day. Very excited. One of my favorite show that we do by far.
Say that every fucking time.
Also say hello to the people, Phil Shoemaker.
Good friends, huh?
Good friend.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Of course.
Wow.
Best friends.
Wow. Shooting from the hip today. Okay. Well,
Just having fun. Having fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, of course, this month's review is centered around Signalis, a quaint little indie game that we're going to get into here in just a bit. But if you don't know, the Two Penny Game Club is, of course, your monthly video game book club in which during the month, me and these other two fine gentlemen play a video game in the background and come to you at the beginning of each new month with our review, all of our thoughts on it, and then we rank it amongst the other games in the series. Please make sure you like, subscribe, drop a comment down below what you think of Signalis and the rankings at the end of the game, or at the end of the show. And let us know your own personal rankings of all these things, and play alongside with us as we entertain next month's game, which will be Phil's pick, because of course we alternate picks between a spinner wheel and then one of us picks. Signalis came up because of a spinner wheel, and we'll get into that bit.
We'll get into that. I hate to interrupt you. I think we might have to take a break for Connor to check his pants.
No,
because he just ripped ass.
I always do it, and every single time.
He rips ass all the time.
People always think Connor...
I could hear it through you talking, in projecting through my headphones also.
Yeah, it was a loud one. That's why I knew it was perfect when Tavin was going on his fucking talk.
Signalis!
He's not stopping either.
Was initially released October 27th, 2022, only available on PlayStation 4.
Really?
2022. Only available on PlayStation 4. Thought that was
interesting.
It might have to do with the fact this game, you probably don't have it here, was in development for 9 years.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so apparently it was a passion project.
Interesting. And they couldn't figure out how to pause the game when text was on screen. Huh?
That was intentional, Tab.
Was it not also released on PC?
It was. Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
PC. Oh, I'm sorry. I meant like PS4, not PS5.
Gotcha. I thought you were saying literally only released on PS4.
No, released on PC, Nintendo Switch, PS4, and Xbox One. It's just interesting that we were in the next generation, and it still has not come to
2 years into it. You know?
Yeah. It's still only on PS4 and Xbox One, which I thought was interesting. A Metacritic of 81, and couldn't find hard sales numbers because this is a smaller game, an indie game, and so forth. So I pulling from Gamealytic.
Yes.
Gamealytic.com says sales are at where is the number? There it is. 482.7 thousand, generating a gross revenue of $7.4 million.
Good sales.
Pretty good
for a small game. For a small
little thing. And again, you can see it on the last episode of this that we did. I have not really heard of this game before. I mean, maybe it came up in a showcase, and I when I saw that showcase, went, "Oh, that looked interesting. Maybe I'll check it out." And then it immediately left my mind, and I never checked it out.
Yeah. I think personally, it's kind of a game out of time where I didn't realize this game only released 3 years ago.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I thought it was pre-pandemic. During pandemic.
Yeah.
I know about this game because I all of a sudden started getting animations of the Android characters and the Gestalt characters.
In what?
Interacting. No, not that. Like cutesy little romantic videos.
Okay.
I'm not even joking. That's all. And I was like, what is this? And I looked it up.
Romantic.
And that was the thing, because it was like wholesome stuff, and then I go to the gameplay and it's like dark.
Yeah.
Dark tone.
Fucking stuff screaming at you.
Exactly. I was like, Jesus. And then that was my first intro into it.
Getting into it. Gentlemen, I'll go ahead and start it. I didn't check.
Well, you can look at his ugly mug. Both me and Phil's beautiful faces are off to the side.
I'm sorry. I should have actually started with Phil, you and I played it on PS4.
The PS4 version on our PS5s, yeah.
Connor, you played on PC.
I did.
Yeah. Does anybody have hour counts and your endings available to you?
I was pushing 11 hours. I was 10 hours, 30 something.
I believe mine was pushing 13, it was a little under 13.
Mine is also that. So it's funny they keep two different timers for you. So it says total game time, which is the time that read on my save, 18 hours 10 minutes. I left the game on
Yeah.
because my total active playtime was 12 hours 47 minutes. And even then, I probably that's probably a little bit inflated also
And-
because there'd be times where you go to read something and then I'm like, all right, let me put the controller down. I'm gonna scroll on, social media for a little bit and then get back to it.
It told me I got the memory ending.
I got that as well.
Connor got that as well. I got the promise ending.
Yes, which is the good ending, but not really good.
I mean, it fulfills the promise.
It does,
Yes.
yes.
So we're gonna get into that in a little bit, but first,
I don't know what the different endings.
I don't
entail.
fully know them either. I know the difference between the endings that we all three got, or the two endings that the three of us got here. I know the difference between that because me and Connor have a conversation, but I don't know anything other than that. But we'll hold on that until we actually get through our little mini reviews here. Ladies and gentlemen, I would say Signalis is a fine game. Of course, this is a game that is a survival horror game inspired by classic Resident Evil and even classic Silent Hill. At a certain point. And so if you're into that, if you're looking for something to scratch that itch, I do think Signalis is a solid time for that. But there's just very little that Signalis does that I think improves on that formula or really even replicates that formula in any spectacular way. I think that for the most part, the gameplay does what it needs to do and literally nothing more than that. It in terms of level design or progressing through the environments, of course, you have locked doors all around you. You got to figure out your way through these scary environments as monsters are hunting you and so forth. I just found it very repetitive in how they choose to solve each of the room and each screen's problems. And I found generally the atmosphere to be not lacking, but just unimpressive. I was very rarely absorbed in the world of Signalis. I think its attempt at narrative and being sort of limited in its narrative and causing the player to be very investigative in what's going on is nice. It's a cool switch up, and I think it adds more complexity and depth than what we would get in a Resident Evil game. So I do appreciate that. I appreciate the animated art style and the choices that they went in that, but the actual in-game art style I think is just fine. It works. You can read what's on screen well enough, but I think a lot of the monster designs are pretty generic and very, very repetitive. I think the moment-to-moment gameplay is okay. I prefer everything that I played in the Resident Evil 1 remake for GameCube that we did earlier in this series, just entirely. I found it difficult to aim in this game, Connor. I know it was a little bit different for you being on PC. It's a little bit more cursor focused, whereas here it's straight up a twin stick shooter. And I just found switching from enemy to enemy targets on who I specifically wanted to shoot to be difficult at times. And yeah, I just think there's nothing inherently wrong with this game, but I don't think there's all that much impressive with this game either. For me, this falls into a similar territory that Dead Cells falls into, but I think Dead Cells is a more fun game to play, where this is it's a good game. And there's not a whole lot more to say past that. If you're into this type of game, if you want this type of experience, sure, I recommend it, but I don't think that this game does anything more special than what we've seen in the past. And that's kind of disappointing being, 30 years separated from the game that established the blueprint. For us to not be able to match that quality is just slightly disappointing for me. But Connor, I want to know how you felt after your whole experience here.
I thought it was a great little game. I thoroughly enjoyed the aesthetics of it, of the tone of the game. I enjoyed the degradation that goes on as you continue through the narrative, which I am always a fan of interactive storytelling or environmental storytelling. One of the big key reasons I love the FromSoft games is it allows you to just, through the exploration of the world, kind of piece things together on your own. This does it in a lot more straight way, where you can kind of understand by the end of what's going on, despite the fact that there's very little dialogue, even when it is spoken.
Even if you're not paying that much attention, you can piece things together.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of the weirdness of the plot comes in with the end. Again, we'll talk about that later. Going back to the gameplay experience, I found it to be very entertaining. I found it, I did it differently than Tavin did, whereas he felt he needed to go through the combat every single time he encountered enemies. I found that's
not 100% true. I just found that I found that I was forced to engage in combat more than you.
Fair enough.
But the whole sneaking around enemies thing, I still did some of that, but less.
Yeah, and I enjoy gameplay that is a mixture of, maybe not the most in-depth combat system, but melded with a way to avoid them to where it's more of a survival horror experience where you're not using up unnecessary amount of supplies. I felt like the game gave you enough room to be able to wiggle around and not exactly be caught into one type of play style, despite these games generally requiring it. What am I saying? These games, they can come into an issue like the recent Silent Hill 2 with being basically impossible to get past enemies, so you got to kill them. But something like Resident Evil, as you were talking about, you have that same gameplay in effect.
The risk reward of, do I spend the resources to make this room safe, or do I conserve them for later on when I might need them a little bit more?
Yeah, and I felt the game was structured in a pretty understanding way. I always had an idea of what I was doing. Very often with these games, especially in this one, where at one point they take away your map, you can be kind of confused at what exactly to do, what part works where. But it's pretty intuitive.
That part definitely took me the longest to get through.
Which did?
The part without a map.
Yeah, and that was for that it was because I just didn't realize what I needed to do with the room that I kept glancing over. But for the most part, the mini games and the puzzles are entertaining. I found myself enjoying all of them. I didn't really have one that I was like, this fucking sucks. I hope I never do this again. You only do them once.
I was going to say, each one you only do once, so you don't have to worry about doing them again.
Never have to worry about that.
In that way, they didn't overstay their welcome, but also for me, that's kind of a double-edged sword where like, oh man, I really like this. I would actually like to do this one again, but it never shows up again.
I'm fine with them not going away, or I'm fine with them going away. There just needed to be more. There's not enough. We probably needed twice as many of those puzzle mini games.
Yep.
Each individual puzzle is all great, but we needed more of them.
Specifically, the two that stand out for me are the like lock picking one, which I thought was kind of neat, even though it was kind of
totally because that happened so early that I just totally forgot about that one. So like when you guys talked about it on Piggy Bank, and then when I like went to the game, I was like, oh, they're both ahead of me, so I haven't come across it yet. But I'd already done it, and I just forgot about it. Like, it's fine.
And then the when you're getting the book out of the vending machine, I like that one too.
Oh, you like that one?
That's a forgettable one for me.
I thoroughly enjoid the where you're aligning the antennas. Yeah. Try and cross-reference them to.
Oh, that one confused me because I'm an idiot. I thought the radio frequency came after you aligned them, and it comes before. And I was like, oh, okay.
And that's the other thing in regards to gameplay. The inclusion of the radio at random points. And it's always shocking when it happens. You'll have enemies that are psychically damaging you. And
those enemies are so annoying.
They are, but I found it fun to deal with it because your screen would be flushed with tons of letters and words, and occasionally a radio signal would be brought up, and you would have to switch to that radio to kind of start beating them, whittling down their health, and preventing you from taking more damage. And they changed it up by throwing you in rooms where you fought enemies while that was going on. But each time it did that, it, like the rest of the game, never felt like you needed to kill those enemies. You just needed to position yourself correctly and juggle between those two things. And when those gameplay moments came into play, I enjoyed them pretty thoroughly.
See, sorry, those enemies in particular, like in the whole radio gimmick, which I like. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with it.
Yeah.
But it's not the game's fault.
We're gonna get to you.
Okay.
Well, I will finish it up because before we get into the really nitty-gritty of things, usually how these conversations go, we highlight what we like, maybe what we don't like, and then extrapolate from there. The biggest issue I have with this game is it doesn't work that efficiently into its genre. It's a horror game, and I was never scared. Usually, at least with horror games that are at a baseline scary, even if you can get over that hump, you have to play through the first, at the very least, third of the game, maybe halfway through the game, before you go, okay, I'm not going to get, jumpy anymore. I know what I'm dealing with here. This is no longer scary. Resident Evil hit that point in like the last third of the game. When you got thrown the hunters, that was the final bit where it's like, okay, that's more than third, honestly. Like near the end. Either way,
I think you're confusing the hunters with the bug things in the lab.
Yeah. The hunters are in the mansion.
Yeah.
That happens like less than halfway through.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah,
and the hunters are scary.
Yeah, they are scary as fuck. But that's kind of the thing. It never at any point in time was making me scared. Which when you're a horror game, that has to mark against you. When you're trying to be scary and you're just not really capable of doing it and relying way too much on the heavy screams of the enemies and repetitive music, which they could have made that more scary by switching it up. So you never know, because that instills within you like a fear of the unknown. A new soundtrack of what am I dealing with here. You would do that with bosses, of course, but regular enemy encounters, it was always the same. And so when you're trying to make a horror game, that really marks against it, as I was saying before, because when you play a horror game, you go in expecting to be scared to a degree, and it just did not perform that function well at all. And that's the biggest thing I take away from it as far as the structure of the game.
Phil, where were you at with Signalis?
So I actually really liked it. I would call this one a good game. I really like kind of Connor was mentioning kind of like the environmental like storytelling, but like the environmental horror. It's almost like an Eldritch kind of horror feel. It literally references The King in Yellow.
Yes.
Which is like, it wasn't directly H.P. Lovecraft, but it was like in the same vein.
Yeah, I read a little bit of it. I was going to read all of it. I just beat the game yesterday, and that didn't pan out because it's long. But I'll let you continue your thoughts.
But yeah, so I really dug like that aspect. Sure, like the repetitive music was still suitably tense. Like in moments, like it would still kind of like get my heart rate up a little bit, like I could feel it. But like towards the end, I kind of found the screams just like annoying.
Yeah.
I also like in terms of you mentioning Tavin that you were kind of forced to interact with combat more than Connor did. I guess I also had like a similar experience as Connor, where I wasn't necessarily fighting things, but like I wasn't always just necessarily sneaking past them either, because they were still coming at me. But there's a move where you can just push them out of the way and you can just rush by them. Yeah. And so that was what I was doing primarily. I didn't kill, aside from like a few of them in the first area. After that, I didn't kill any enemy that wasn't in a boss room.
Damn.
And for better or worse,
if they're next to a save room, they're dying.
Oh yeah,
because I need a safe haven.
Same here.
Gotcha. Oh yeah. So the bit underneath, like right after you jump in the hole and like you're in like this weird like prison looking area, in one of the rooms where you get one of the rings, it was almost impossible because like I would go and try to get this ring, and enemies are just crowding around me, and I can't pick it up without them hitting me and knocking me off the prompt. So I'm like, fuck, I got to go around and train them all again and push one out of the way, and then really quick do it again, and then do another loop just so I can have a safe escape. I don't know if I mentioned I played this one on survival difficulty just because I was trying to get the trophy and platinum knocked out. Still got fucked over because the default inventory setting was one that I had to change to what they call classic, which I think Tavin mentioned in Discord last night, that it just changes the flashlight from the flashlight and the like eyeball thing,
the camera thing, which is actually a really nice tool.
Yeah, but it's almost useless because you can just take photos with your PlayStation.
Yeah, I used it in one puzzle.
The one I saw.
Yeah, the sundial one with the tarot cards and stuff.
At the end,
the one puzzle I used it in. For the most of the game, it stayed in the box.
I think I picked up one, and the other one I was like, oh, you're useless. I'm not going to pick you up.
Mm-hmm.
But what was I going to say? I mentioned something else.
Radio is what you were talking about.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I have kind of a love-hate relationship with the radio. But that's not the game's fault. It's my controller's fault, because one of my controllers, the right on the D-pad, doesn't work.
Oh.
So stop using that controller?
Right. But the PlayStation 5 controllers don't last very long, so I have to use a different controller to then plug that one that has the D-pad that doesn't work. Then I
don't have that. I mean, sometimes I have that problem, but I don't always have that problem. Like with the battery power on the controllers, like because it's like, how long is a PlayStation or how long is a play session? 2 or 3 hours. That usually lasts the whole time, and then I put the console in rest mode and I plug it in and it charges and it's ready to go the next time I use it.
I don't know. I felt like I was switching controllers all the time.
I also just use it. I just keep it plugged in while I
don't have my board anymore, so I can't do that.
Get a long one. It's like $15.
Well, the thing is, what's weird is I'll finish my thoughts on the game and we'll get into the whole controller debacle.
Sure.
But I really enjoyed my time with this game. I'm not typically a survival horror guy. I'm not a big scary game fan. aside from like, me and Tavin played Until Dawn, and that was a blast. But I actually really enjoyed my playthrough this game. I actually liked playing through this one in particular, purely because it was a shorter experience than Resident Evil, the Resident Evil remake.
It's about the same length.
Is it?
Yeah,
it felt like it went by a lot faster.
about the same.
Yeah. I finished it quicker than I did Resident Evil, but it's about the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
My thing about it is that like this is a much more straightforward game than Resident Evil, because like Resident Evil it's this big mansion that you got to explore and figure out every room and so forth, whereas this one and this is my key criticism of the game, I would say, is that most of this game is there are 3 locked doors, 1 unlocked door. You enter the 1 unlocked door, you pick up a key. That key is for one of those doors. You open that door, it's another key. Like, and the keys are one-time use type things, so it's never like there's just not a lot of complexity when you are unlocking different parts of the map and so forth. Like, it's very repetitive in that, oh, I just need a key. Oh, I just need a key. Oh, I just need a key. And like, that's it. Whereas like in Resident Evil, it's like, oh, you got to go get 4 masks, and you got to go find those things, and then bring them back to this one location to progress down this other place, and then the only way to like, and then you get an item that is strictly for a puzzle in one room, and you go back to that one room and like figure out the puzzle and so forth. Yeah. Whereas here, like,
I think
most of the puzzles you can solve just by kind of fucking around a little bit.
I think
like,
the closest this game gets to that aspect of Resident Evil is with the rings and the wooden doll you have to put together.
Yeah.
See, not even. I would argue it's only the tarot cards that are like that.
Okay. No, I definitely say what Phil said as well. It's kind of the same system.
Which... I mean, yes, in the sense that you have to go get a bunch of things, but that's every environment is go get a bunch of things. But this is like there's 3 main areas, right?
Yeah.
Each time you enter the area, there's a big door with like 6 things that you got to go get, or 3 things for the rings, or whatever. Or I guess the ring is to get one of the things for the big 6 door, whatever.
Right?
Yeah. Like you know what I'm saying? So like. You're going to the one big goal of just moving forward, but like all the little small goals like that lead you there are pretty much just key cards, or like a random rusted key for a gate or whatever.
Well, and that being said, I think that works. I think Resident Evil is a better game. That might indicate where this is going on the list generally, but that's actually one of the areas where it does better than Resident Evil. Because what's the biggest criticism? Well, one of my biggest criticisms of Resident Evil. It was constantly being in situations where I'm like, okay, I have all of these things that I need for a puzzle or something that I need to progress. Now let me walk back to the item box so I have enough room to get that plus all the other stuff. And this game has that same problem, with even more so to a degree, because the inventory is even smaller. And very often
The inventory is the same.
Is it the same?
There's 6 slots for both games.
Well, then I guess it is just objectively better, because it made it easier to go back when you did have a full inventory and get rid of your stuff. Whereas Resident Evil, sometimes you were going across the entire mansion just to put up an item, just to do one puzzle. And it was never fun. It was never interesting. It was just wasting my time.
I'm going to push back against that and say that's a player error, because like there's just as much space. Honestly, there's probably less item boxes in this game than there are in Resident Evil. And like the way the speed at which your player the player character progresses through each screen is slower than Chris and Jill running around the mansion.
It's slower, but again, the level design of being a lot more complicated, being a lot more extensive, and if you are deciding to get enemies, keep them alive, because I also feel like inventory management is more necessary in Resident Evil. And so you're having to leave more guys alive.
Why is it more necessary in Resident Evil?
Well, I felt like with Signalis...
I just don't see this big difference that you're talking about.
Well, Signalis, I never had an issue with getting ammo. Resident Evil, sometimes I would. And by that extension...
Again, I'm going to say that's a player error thing, that you just played a least efficient... You played Resident Evil less efficiently than you played Signalis.
But you're saying the efficiency
thing.
It's
like the nicest way to say skill issue.
I will say I did beat this game quicker, Signalis, than all of you guys. That's my
claim to fame.
You're
Being so polite about it.
I mean,
sounds like player error.
But you're saying... I get what you're saying, but you're saying that in the context of, you know how puzzles work to know what you exactly need when you need it. Because there's tons of parts in the game where you're like, what am I doing here? Oh, I need that item. And then you have to run back and get it because you didn't plan for it, or you didn't want to waste time keeping it in your inventory. No, Resident Evil.
See, I feel like it happens just as much in this game.
I feel like it happens less because you usually have items that you get rid of immediately.
Because to me,
as opposed to constantly have to keep them around.
Because to me, you have your weapon, you have your health item, and then you leave the rest empty for key items.
Yeah.
When you fill up on that, or when you fill up just picking up extra ammo, you run back to the box, you empty out your inventory, you keep your weapon, you keep your health item.
And that's what I'm saying with the smaller level design. It makes it to where that's not as impactful. It's the same issue. You know, it's an overall issue with Signalis as well, but it's not something that impacts it
my point is, and I said this in the Resident Evil review, you played Resident Evil wrong. Because you had weapon, ammo, 2 health items. So that's 4 spots gone.
But even then, you're discounting...
Whereas this one you had, I would assume, like me, weapon, no extra ammo, and health.
But you're discounting what happens in Resident Evil with, once again, you're having to use multiple objects to complete progression through the game.
You're discounting your agency.
You never know when you're going to need what item. So either way, you're still going to inevitably have to go back to the box.
Signalis works the same way because the key items go into the box, and then you open up and you go and you discover a new room, and you go, oh, there's a puzzle here. You either have the item and you immediately know what you need, right? Because the puzzle solutions are so simple in this game.
Yeah.
That it's pretty much just like fit square block in square hole.
Is it maybe for you, is it the fact that the health items like stack? Is that why? Or
that might be it.
Because I mean, like
health was the big thing.
I mean, like some of them do, or like they like there's like 3
as long
there's
like
like 3 or 4 health items and they stack, right?
Yeah, as long as they're the same kind, they'll stack.
And I would only have one type of health item in this game, whereas admittedly, in Resident Evil, I always did carry a lot of healths. But
again, you can take more damage in Resident Evil.
You can't.
I think you can because of the psychological damage from the radio enemies, which I love the radio enemies. By the way.
Not on survival. You get hit like 3 times and you're dead. It's crazy. And dude, and then the patches, they do nothing. Like hardly anything.
They didn't really do much for me.
They didn't do much for the base game.
Yeah. Patches I burned like pretty much as soon as I got them because I was like, I might as well just have them.
For survival, the only ones that were any help were the Repair Spray Plus and the
patches.
full,
and I love
injectors.
Injectors, yeah.
I'm sorry to
auto
cut off
injectors.
there. I love the herb system of Resident Evil way more. Like
sure, yeah.
Like we're gonna have the weight and balance of how do you want to mix these herbs together.
I'll agree with that. I like the herbs a lot.
All together. There's also just more items in Resident Evil, just in general, like sprayed throughout the mansion and so forth. And there's a lot more puzzle items. There's a lot more puzzles, which I think adds to the complexity of the game and the intrigue of the game, and it just makes it more interesting. Where again, this one, I got a blue key. All right, I'm going to go put the blue key in the box until I find the one blue key door.
Functional. I do think that Resident Evil gives you like more temptations. It's like, oh, I can pick this thing up, but then I'm not going to have enough room to pick this other thing up. So, whereas in Signalis, it's like, hey, I'll pick this thing up, but there's like hardly anything else in this room for me to pick up. There's maybe like 1 or 2 things in each room, whereas there are some rooms in Resident Evil that have like 4 or 5.
Yeah,
right?
Like there's the mind game of Resident Evil where you go, there's 3 herbs here. I don't have space for all 3 of them. I can carry what I can or pick up what I can and take it to the box and come back. Or I can leave them here, know there's a health stash here, and know that I can get to it fairly safely. Maybe there's a zombie or a dog along the way or whatever. But now I know there's a health stash in this room. That never happens in this game.
But that kind of extends to the issue of you having to go back in the first place.
That again extends to my critique of your critique in that you're just a bad Resident Evil player.
I mean, I did it good.
Let me be less nice about it now.
Right, yeah.
Right? Like you played Resident Evil like an idiot.
I just had a lot of health items. That's it.
There's a lot of health items. But there's a lot more key items too.
Even when you decide, oh, this puzzle needs to be solved this way, you still have to go back and get it because you're acting like that wasn't an issue you had with the game.
I'm sorry. You see the big clock in the main foyer? It doesn't have the clock hands on it.
No.
Hey, guess what the clock hands that you find 3 hours later are for?
Beginning game when you're in like barely anything and you barely unlocked any doors. You're basically straw manning my point.
Yes, the game is hard, Connor.
You admit you're straw manning it.
I don't know what you mean.
It means you like weaken the argument by creating a certain condition for it.
Are you saying strong manning?
Straw manning.
It sounded like you said strong manning.
Strong manning. That's like
straw manning.
I think that's like you threaten somebody to be.
But like
strong arming.
Strong arming. Yeah.
Like. My point is, these are exactly the same. Signalis is just more boring. Like, it's just less interesting because they don't do anything. They don't have cool puzzles. They don't have cool items for puzzles. It's like, oh, this is one of the key items for the air. This is a tarot card. Okay, every time I find a tarot card, I'm going to throw it in the box and wait till I have all 6. And then I'm going to take all 6 to the place that I need them. Like, that's just boring. I would much rather have 3 keys that open 15 different doors, and then, you know, running through those doors and figuring out what goes where. Like, I would so much rather that experience than what is experienced here. Because yes, Connor, there's less backtracking in Signalis, but there's also a lot less thinking in Signalis. Like, you just don't have to think that
No.
And
So no, wait a second.
That's
no.
real. Hold on. Let me just finish the sentence, please. That's really the real gameplay of Resident Evil, and just this form of gameplay is thinking. Is going, what do I have? What's in the room with me? Where do I need to go next? And what are the steps to get there? What's the safest route? That's the entertaining part of Resident Evil. It's not the shooting the zombies part.
Yeah, dude. So what you're doing is you're melding one aspect of the game with another one and acting like I said the other. I never said that Signalis is better puzzles. Objectively, Resident Evil is far better puzzles.
No,
and way more content.
my point is you are separating those two things and they are together.
No, because one is entirely connected to inventory management, which goes beyond just puzzle items. It's every other item you can get into the game, whether it's health items, whether it's bullets or well.
That's the gameplay.
I feel like
that is the gameplay loop.
Like I would make the argument that combat's tied to inventory management too.
It is, certainly as well. But
I'm saying all of this is one, and he's delegating them out to different things. And like I just think you're giving Signalis points where it actually should lose points.
I'm only saying that in terms of not having to run around and spending time on puzzles solely to get the items to do the puzzle rather than the puzzle itself. I'm not going to sit here and contend that...
Play Resident Evil again, then, like...
Then I have player knowledge. I know more what to do. First time you're through it, you're not going to be like, oh, I know what this item is going to be used for this thing over in this part of the house.
But I'm saying you did better at Signalis because you had the prior experience of Resident Evil. So you knew how the gameplay loop worked better.
Well, also,
I like that argument. That's good.
Again, health items stacked. If you looked at my inventory in Resident Evil...
Nice, jackass.
Hey, what? It's right there.
Fucking
We're getting artsy with it.
See, this is what David Lynch would do, Tavin. I know you didn't
also
pay him
use your
respect.
upstage hand so you stop blocking your face. Is
that what they call it?
Can
Upstage?
Can you center it here?
That you're perfectly centered. You're perfectly centered. You're perfectly centered. Right there.
Connor Elliott, everybody.
You're perfectly centered.
There we go.
But yeah, those with health items. Either way,
I just don't think it's a problem. Like, I think you're just discounting an element of gameplay loop that you just have chosen you don't like. Which is, like, fine. That's your opinion.
No one really likes that, though. Did you like backtracking in any situation?
Connor, the camera basher Elliott.
It's just part of the...
alliteration.
It's just part of the experience to me. So it's like...
Yeah.
Yeah, if I want to blindly carry 3 herbs and 2 key items and a gun, yeah, I'm not going to have any fucking space and I got to run around more. Or, hey, I know the route I need to go to get to the puzzle or to get to the puzzle room, and I know the item that I need for it is in the box. I'm not carrying puzzle items around for puzzles that I don't know exist yet. You know what I'm saying?
That's what
like, if I see an item, I don't know what it does, it goes in the box. Like, that's how you play all of these games.
Yeah, and inevitably you're going to be, okay, well, I need to go back to the box to get everything I need, and I'm going to break up the gameplay to go and do that.
Yeah, well, here's what I think the real problem is that you see a puzzle and you immediately go, oh, this puzzle, let me go back to the box and go get the item, and then come back to the puzzle. Whereas I go, oh, this puzzle, that's for that item. That's great. I'm on an exploratory run right now, so I'm going to keep going on my exploratory run until I fill up on inventory or have exhausted all other options. Because then my next route is planning, okay, what order do I want to do these puzzles in?
But if you're going exploratory, as I did during that game, you're inevitably going to come up with the structure of Resident Evil. This has become a Resident Evil review rather than Signalis.
I mean, it's a Resident Evil baby. Like, you know?
Silent Hill 2 / more Resident Evil baby.
Which, yeah, you probably don't even know. That prison area that you're talking about in the mines and so forth, straight up Silent Hill.
Silent Hill 2 coded
100% Silent Hill 2.
Yeah.
Even that first boss that's in, like, the cage with the arms and things, straight up a Silent Hill 2 boss.
You could say that's a copy.
That's like a second boss.
The second boss. Yeah. Also, the only difference is instead of like crawling on the ground, it's like in Silent Hill, it's hanging from the rafters.
Mm-hmm. So. Also, the red save screens. That is
the red save screens are straight up Silent Hill. Also, yeah.
Almost same effect and everything. Even
that was my favorite part of the game, and I think it was because like they did take the map away, so it did get more difficult. So you did have to think more. Like to me, that was great. So when they gave me the map back, I was actually like, this place is objectively harder. because there's so many more enemies and they're so much harder to kill. But at that point, like in a Resident Evil game, I'm super powered up with weapons and I have more game knowledge, so I know how the game works better. So like, yeah, like the last third of the game, I actually found way easier than the first third of the game. When they gave me the map back, I was like, oh, this is actually a cakewalk. Because like now I don't even have to do the brain power of thinking, fuck, where does this door lead me to? Like I could just check the map.
Yeah, it kind of trains you.
Yeah, which is why I liked that second area so much more, because it was like, and the extra puzzle of like the coded doors or the doors that you had to do the keypads for and all that, and they were specific for each key. I was like, oh, this is what I'm talking about. Yeah. That's what I wanted from this game, and it's only in this section, and then the beginning third and the last third don't have anything like that.
Mm-hmm. I really like the bosses in this game, especially the final boss.
The final boss was the only one I was really like, this is a really good boss.
It's a good boss.
Mm-hmm.
Not good for this game.
No?
They make it simple and slow so that you can easily get around it and stuff. But that like bullet hell stuff is just not great for how slow the gameplay is for this game. So like
Elster's entirely too slow.
Yeah, like I was just kind of like, yeah. Like as I was doing it, I was like, this is cool, but like, and it's definitely like it is objectively the best boss in the game. I don't like the first boss. First boss annoys me.
Well, it's weird because then that first boss is just an enemy later on.
Yep. I mean, he only comes up two more times.
Two more times, yeah.
Yeah, like so, and I didn't fight him.
Maybe 3.
I didn't. Is it a she?
They're all women.
Does it matter? Oh, just because they're all replicants?
Robots. Yeah, they're all androids.
I did like the mid
Except for
game.
That one. Right.
I did like the mid game. Well, actually, no, it's a person in a suit.
Yeah, because it's an android in a suit. Like, they're basically like just the face model.
Because you find the one that's like got broken legs essentially, and you're like, "Hey, you good?" And she's like, "I'm dying."
Yeah.
It is what it is. And I'm like, "All right, cool." I did like the mid game twist of the failing, losing, credits roll. You died, sucks to be you. But then they put the replicant thing on its head and said, "Oh well, you're a replicant too, so you're gonna come back to life also, and you're gonna stitch yourself back." I was like, "This is cute." Yeah. Is this the part that you were talking about to me where you're like, "Oh, the game got me."
I'm done.
You're like, "Oh, I got the bad ending."
Yeah, no, that's what I thought. I was like, did I do something wrong? And I go to the. Admittedly, I did go to the endings, and I was like, false ending.
Oh, you had to look that up?
Because I thought it was done. I was like, like, what'd I fuck up? What'd I do?
To me, I was like, this is so clearly, like, something's wrong. So I just hit the continue button when it came. Because it wasn't new game. Like, new game wasn't an option.
Just continue,
And when you load up the game, even when you have a game save file, when you load up the game, it does give you the option of new game.
Yeah.
So when it was just continue, I was like, I see what you're doing.
That's what I did first. I clicked continue, and it's the same exact thing as the beginning. So I was like, I guess that's it.
You didn't notice the lighting difference?
I did, but I thought that was just like
I like the repeated motif of like being in the spaceship.
In that first ship, yeah.
And so like that's where you open the game. That's where like you come back after the false ending, and you have to run through all the different diagnostics, because in that like first check back after the false ending, you're in space. Like you're not on a planet or anything. You're literally still flying in space.
Yep.
And then towards the end when you have to go through again, I really like just the ship in general. I like that whole repeated.
And I've got to
section.
It's confusing.
I wish I liked
Weird.
I wish I liked the gameplay loop better so that I would feel motivated to like actually see the full loop, because the entire game is on a loop. Like, because you end up dead in the same position that you found the dead body where you stitch yourself back together with and so forth. So I'm like, excuse me. In my head, I want to figure out what all of that means. I just don't want to play the game. I don't want to play the game.
Processing trauma or something like that.
Yeah. There's a lot going on in this game, and I really want to dive in and know all of its aspects. But the gameplay loop is just so basic that I'm like, I'm cool. I don't need to.
How weird are those like first person segments?
Yeah,
very weird at first. Grew to love them.
Yeah,
grew to love them. I also, I know you had a love-hate relationship. I love the radio.
Mm-hmm.
I like that was the thing that I was like, okay, here we like every time they gave me a new gimmick, I was like, okay, here we go. I got to be honest. The first third of this game, I beat that first boss, which I believe is before you get the radio. It was before that, or is after the boss. I think.
No, you get it before.
Maybe it's like right before, but they don't like show. They don't tell you why you need. Like they don't show you the full extent of what it does.
So before that boss, because you need the sheet with all the frequencies on it, and then you need the radio to unlock
to open
the
safes and so forth.
It has like a sword.
Which one of them I never opened. So I don't know what that one has. But it is what it is.
Wonder what that would be.
Yeah, I don't know.
I got to be honest, the first third of this game, I was sitting here and I was like, I think this game is really boring and like ineffective. I was like, if nothing happens, if it stays on this track that the first third was on, I was like, this is gonna go really low for me. But it was about the time of the mid game refresh, the continue screen, all of that. That's when I was like, okay, now we're kind of cooking. And then that's when they like really start revealing the story to you and giving you letters and notebooks that like actually tell you what's going on and so forth. I was losing my mind every time I picked up a fucking replicant model handbook. I was like, I don't fucking care. And like it's just that for the most part for like the first third of the game, and I was like, oh fucking Christ. But yeah, as soon as that death happens, and even like a little bit before that with like the second area and so forth, I was like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. Now I'm like really starting to engage in what's happening here. And then the last third I thought was a lot of like really interesting stuff narratively and so forth. But I thought it did get more simple mechanically.
Yes. I mean, I guess spoiler.
Yeah, I want to talk about these endings.
Yeah.
So y'all tell me what happened in. So I got the promise. Y'all got
memory.
Tell me what happened there.
Go ahead, Connor.
Okay, so basically, it's the exact same thing as what you saw in, what was yours again? Promise?
Promise.
So you go into the cryo chamber, you find Ariane, and when you go and you're like, hey, you wake her up, she doesn't remember you.
Yeah, she has no memory of you.
Really?
But your character's fine with it and basically just says, well, she doesn't know yet. She forgot the promise. That's the whole bit, is that she no longer remembers the promise.
That was like really sad to me. That's why I typed in the Discord, like, man, this game's kind of sad.
There's not a happy ending.
There's not a happy ending.
Like, it almost like, it didn't read to me that Elster didn't know either. It read to me like, oh.
No, yeah.
She's like, she doesn't remember me, and now I'm super fucking depressed. Like, that's how it read for me.
You're right, because the reason why I really like this narrative is because of how you can look into it after the game's done. Not only with things like the King in Yellow, because this is very much Eldritch based, especially with some of the other stuff, like with the secret ending.
Is that a reference to a thing, the King in Yellow?
It's a book.
It's a book.
Right, because you picked... Oh, it's a real book.
It's a real book. It's a real book.
Okay. Yeah, because you picked that up and don't do anything with it.
It's in the same vein as like Cthulhu and H.P. Lovecraft.
But it's not made by... It's like predates Lovecraft.
Oh.
And it's been basically included in that kind of stuff, in Eldritch being... It's the same kind of idea. A
lot of people lump the King in Yellow and...
Yeah. And between things like that and the German, because the German that pops up, apparently it says, I've seen bits of it, it says a lot of like relative stuff through the plot.
I believe that.
And yeah, you'd have to know German.
There are several points, like, I think like when you finally beat Adler or whatever, like a big line in German comes up and I was like, that is probably important, and I've got no idea what it says.
Whatever the fuck it says.
Let me get my Google Lens.
Literally.
But all of this is to say that I'm sorry to.
No, you're fine. I was gonna go back and say about like Elster, like
forgetting,
like
we're not ready.
Not like about how Ari doesn't remember her, and she just kind of like slumps down in the position. And she's just like super depressed. That's how I read it.
And the thing is that her promise is, of course, to kill Ariane.
Yeah,
and. The point I was seeing, I saw a little bit of discussion online, a lot of it having to do with the secret ending, that your character knows a lot more about what's going on than
the
really
player knows.
Yeah. And so
which is kind of meta, because you're not going to get the secret ending your first time through, so you as the player who knows more.
Yes.
Player character also knows more now.
Exactly. And she remembers the promise, she just can't go through with it because of what it means. So her understanding it more, that was the weird thing. The parameters for how the endings are chosen, the reason you and me got the same one is because it's based off of the more enemies you kill, the more likely you're going to get Tavin's ending.
Gotcha.
It's a number of stats. It's damage taken,
like
damage healed, stuff like that. Enemies killed, how fast you're doing things, if you're interacting with NPCs. It's a score count based off of a lot of things. Like, from what I was reading online, I did not kill enough enemies to get the ending, but I did take enough damage. I took way more than enough damage. So like that kind of made up for it and got me to where I was at. So the promise ending pretty much plays out exactly how Connor's described. You go in, you see Ariana.
Ariane. It never says the name. So
Ariane.
Ariane. We'll say Ariane for the purpose of this right here. You see her. I believe she was already awake, and she's in there and she's suffering. And granted, like maybe you saw the note too. There's a note a few rooms back where it's like, hey, you've made it, and you found it because the whole crux is that you are exploring the galaxy looking for viable planets or whatever to live on, right? And so like it's like, hey, if you've reached this day, hey, there's nothing out there, buddy. Thank you for your service. Don't try and come back home. Don't ration your food. Let yourself die as quickly as possible. In fact, if you want to tell your replicant to kill you, go ahead and do that. Thank you for your service. And so that's when you realize what the promise is, oh, me, the replicant, I have to kill Ariane. And so you enter the room. They have because they have a relationship, they have a very touching, like, little back and forth of, like, do you remember the promise? Yes, I do. It's okay. I'm okay with this. Okay. They, I don't know if they exchange a full kiss, but you definitely kiss her on the forehead, and then you choke her.
Jesus.
Yeah. And then it's a very sad thing. It's not, like, played out to be violent or anything.
Right.
It just kind of happens. They definitely cut, it's like hands on neck, and then they cut, and then they come back, and then you slump down in sadness, and you've also just taken enough damage to where your replicant model just becomes inoperable.
Gotcha.
And that's kind of where the cool thing comes in with her. Her whole entire thing is that she's a bio resonant, which basically is able to
Ariane.
Yeah, Ariane, and she's able to make things into basically warp reality, which is the entire system of going through things over and over and over again.
Yeah.
It has to do, once again, going back to that Eldritch stuff, to do with like unknowable god that's trying to bring about a certain future, and Ariane is kind of the tool to do that. And so the entire point is you kill her, not only to prevent that from happening on a larger scale. It's always with these Eldritch things, it's the opening of the gate to greater horrors. Kind of what you've seen the entire way through that game, but on a more massive scale, infecting the Empire, so to speak.
Gotcha. So with her being alive in our ending, we got the bad ending.
Yes, because it's just repeating it over and over
Gotcha,
again.
okay.
But it makes sense to where you either get to the ending.
Is that why it's happening?
That's
because she's
how I've
alive.
interpreted it.
Oh, that's how you're interpreting it. Okay.
Because it ends when you remember your promise
Yeah.
and kill her. Because every time you go back there, you don't kill her. Which is why I think we got the ending of how it usually goes. Either not being, of getting there, but can't do it.
Is that why? Because Adler is one of these people too, right? And so I forget, Issa is his replicant trying to kill him to end that thing?
Well, he's trying to stop you from killing her.
No, he's trying to stop you from going back and feeding into the cycle. Thinking that at a certain point, it's going to, basically the god's going to break free. Which I'll sum it up. I don't know. I want to read more into this stuff.
Okay.
It's cool.
This is the element of like, I would love to dive in deeper and really
and
understand
learn
what's
more
happening
about
here,
it.
but this game is boring.
Artifact ending. You do something with ciphers, with radio signals on each levels to basically get keys. And they unlock a safe that's in the corner of that first-person room right before you go to the final boss. If you look over to the right, there's a chest with 3 locks on it, and inside is a lily. And if you take that, you skip the final boss, and you get the ending where it's still weird. And there's some kind of ritual she does, Elster, to basically seeming like the Eldritch God gets what it wants and becomes fully powerful. But the trade-off is Ariane kind of makes a deal to where in this, reality she's created, she's get to spend it with Esther.
Aww.
And so it ends with them dancing. It's the happier ending, but it's sad because it's like they're dancing slower.
The world is over.
Exactly. And it
Eldritch
ties,
God is awake.
and it's probably going to bring about the destruction of that empire that they belong to, but that's kind of a revenge system because the entire system of replicants and gestalts are because of them and because of their authoritarianism.
Well, there's a lot of innocent people who are going to...
Yeah,
you're bringing about
yes.
the end times.
Which is why Adder's trying to stop it.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't let you do this. And that's, I guess, kind of how the worst case scenario would play out, but they end up together in this. But the thing that I saw was being noted was that the dance they do at the end isn't as vibrant or as full as life as when you see them.
I don't remember them dancing in flashback, but maybe that's just me being an idiot, or maybe I didn't see this scene. I don't know. I have a question.
Yeah.
When you hit the continue button and you're in the like bright ship, you find a envelope that says, "Hey, restricted personnel only read this," and it gives you the option to read it. Did y'all read it?
Mm-hmm.
What's in it?
Would you not?
I didn't read it.
I didn't read it either.
Oh, the whole thing.
It felt like a choice to like get a different ending, and I was like, I kind of feel like that's the wrong choice to read it. But maybe clearly it didn't have anything to do with anything.
So we were already in spoiler talk. the entire system of replicas and gestalts. Did you guys read the things related to that?
And for the most part, I skimmed through those.
Yeah, very, very much just
Surface level.
words.
You know,
words,
you read the first page and you go, is this interesting? Yes or no. If it's like kind of interesting, you just kind of skim through the next 2 pages.
Well, basically what it specifies is replicants are people based off of gestalts who are just humans.
which is like
seemingly.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I don't know if it was in that document, but at a certain point, it tells you that certain people are chosen who did some kind of service for the Empire, and they used their DNA to make replicants. And so the replicants are based off of these original people, which, again, that's how it's like weirdly connected to things. Ariane kind of knowing who you are, because your past, which was in that file, is you were a soldier that died in a war. And it's basically saying, hey, don't do things like let her listen to music. You let her listen to music. Show her war films. She shows her war films. So it kind of adds on to the love they share between them.
It creates the personality.
Exactly.
Interesting.
It brings
Okay.
it back because it brings back who you were. And the whole thing with Ariane is she was basically a victim of the system that tried to beat her down to not act this way, where she treats a replicant like a human being, but it never worked. Partly because of those Issa sisters, the one that you saw looking for her dead sister.
Yeah.
They made her rebellious and allowed for Elster to.
So sad
See
when
who it is.
when she fell victim to the
Yeah.
virus stuff going on.
Yeah.
Oh,
And how she just like
heartbreaking.
melts.
Yeah,
And
I was
that's-
like, man, this is sad.
And that proves she's a replicant. Because, yeah, that was the weird. I thought she was a gestalt. That was the entire point. So it's like.
This was my point earlier, is that she is the replicant to Adler.
But Adler's.
Because she's trying to kill Adler.
That's actually a model, just like Elster is, who has memories from somebody else. It's like the unit that deals with administration.
Adler's a human.
No, he's not.
Adler's a replicant, I'm pretty sure.
Yes,
Is he really?
It specifies
Because he
that
bleeds.
What?
I guess we bleed too.
But
Yeah,
everyone
never
bleeds,
mind.
Yeah, that was the weird thing was his transformation into this cool looking skeletal thing.
Was it cool looking?
It's definitely not cool. It was
Well, not for
definitely
him.
It was like
definitely
gross
horrifying.
and like yeah.
It was cool looking.
Bro was getting literally cooked. Like,
But this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. The narrative's really
Stabs
interesting.
us in the
because-
eye.
the narrative is quite interesting. Yeah, and as you're talking, Connor, I'm like, oh wow, this is even better than I thought it was.
This is surface level
Yeah.
looking on my part.
He stabs us in the eye.
does.
Like, this is
A lot of
100%.
stabbing in the eye.
This is
Yeah, a lot of
100%.
He gets stabbed in the eye. We get stabbed in the eye.
Issa gets stabbed in the eye.
I gotta figure out the relevance of us getting stabbed in the eye. Also, that felt like such a thing for Adler to do it, and then us to shoot Adler. I was like, so that's a mere reflection of his scene that he did it. So I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, yeah, there's so much like really cool
Like,
meta,
the parallels that go on,
metaphorical stuff going on in this game that I like really want to dive deeper into.
But the gameplay doesn't lend itself as much to that kind of experience.
Like, it's just.
It's not bad, but it's
Like this, no, it's not bad. It really
Good,
is. It really
but-
isn't bad. It's just for a game from the '90s to be able to give us more complexity than this.
2000s.
90s,
Technically 2000s.
He's referring to the original
I know.
Resident
The
Evil,
original
and the
game.
remake.
because even like RE1 and RE2 are more interesting than this. Like just from a design perspective, like how do you explore the environment? How do you do all these things? I also, again, the atmosphere for this game did nothing for me.
How'd you like it?
Almost turned it real sick.
Yeah. I remember a response is like very awkward. But did you like the style of the game?
Yeah.
Because I get it's a taste thing, so I didn't know if you would like it or
I was super
not.
into like you talking about the like art style.
Yeah, the art style.
Yeah,
really
no,
liked it.
I think it's good. I just don't think it. I don't think it creates a like tense atmosphere. And I also think part of the problem is this isn't 100% true because there are screens where the map does scroll as you traverse through it. But for the most part, the camera angle is 100% of the time the camera angle is exactly the same, right? And that's what I like about Resident Evil is that they use the camera to their advantage.
Yeah.
So like when you jump to a new screen, it like there's a level of unknown which builds tension, right?
does, yeah.
That doesn't really happen in this game.
See, for me, the like art style and kind of like the pixelated, kind of like blocky stuff, especially in like the first person segments, like that kind of added on to like the not like kind of like tension and like kind of mystery of it, especially when we're on the beach.
The first person segments definitely added to the intrigue of the game, but like I was never tense, I was never scared. To your point, Connor, if I got hit, I was more annoyed than anything. I take it back. I said my biggest critique is the how everything is just one key for one door. My biggest fucking critique of this fucking game: never do this again, developers. I appreciate the swing. All right? I appreciate the choice. If you're making one of these types of fucking video games, okay? If I click on an item and I have to read the description for the item to know what it is or for a doorway or something, pause the rest of the game. Stop making me get hit while I'm reading an item description or I can't pick up an item that's on the ground, even if I know what it is and I just can't pick it up because I got hit. Stop that. Don't ever do that again.
You know what this is? This is a symptom of being anti-Dark Souls. That's all it is.
No, I just
it's
feel like
anti-Dark Souls
because in
behavior.
Dark
And he
Souls,
just hates FromSoft. He hates on them. Any chance he can get, he'll say FromSoft is bad company. He relishes in it. And
this fucking guy.
Listen, you can go click it, and if you can't deal with the enemies around you, well, you don't deserve that item. You don't deserve it.
But the maps are so small; they get to you so fast.
Some of them like fucking
Book it.
Oh yeah. Especially the long neck ones.
The ones with the big nose and shit. Those guys straight out of Silent Hill.
Yes, very mannequin coded.
Oh, very mannequin coded. Very mannequin coded.
I didn't have an issue with it because I like that kind of stuff. But it didn't happen when you were doing like reading stuff. Items.
When you're reading like letters and stuff and it like blacks out the whole screen. No, but like if I'm going to a door or if I'm picking up bullets or if I'm picking up a key item.
The door? Oh, I see.
Yeah.
The door, that doesn't
Do you want to unlock this door using this key?
Or hey, this door is locked. Go find X key. Hey, well, I can't figure out what X key I need for this door.
That's
if I can't read it. And every time I get hit while I'm reading and the text goes by so slow, I can't read the description of the door. And then I get hit and then I'm in this vicious cycle. And this brings me to my other complaint about your thing of like, oh, you don't need to kill that many enemies. I do when I need to read the fucking door description.
Fair enough.
So,
but here's the thing, real quick.
Go ahead.
It wasn't even a criticism of your point. I was like, even Dark Souls made you invincible when you're opening doors.
It's true.
Yeah.
Let's rank it.
Yeah. Let's rank it. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, we rank every game that we do in this series. Can you believe we've been going an hour already?
Or
nearly an hour?
I was looking at it and I was like, oh my God.
When it hit, Connor saw me do it, but when it hit 50 minutes, I looked over and saw it hit 50 and I went, holy shit, that was fast. The list is as follows.
Read it, bitch.
We got number 32, Fable. Number 31, Bioshock. Number 30, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. Number 29, Prey. Number 28, Tomb Raider. Number 27, Alan Wake. Number 26, Batman Arkham Asylum. Number 25, Uncharted Drake's Fortune. Number 24, Halo Combat Evolved. 23, Dead Cells. 22, Shadow of the Colossus. 21, Mario 64. 20, Resident Evil 4. 19, Portal. 18, Banjo-Kazooie. 17, Ratchet & Clank. 16, Pokemon Soul Silver. 15, Severed. 14, Resident Evil. 13, Chrono Trigger. 12, Dishonored. 11, Metal Gear Solid. 10, Shovel Knight. 9, Portal 2. 8, Doom 2016. 7, Yakuza 0. 6, Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty.
Dang.
Long list. 5, Hades. 4, Final Fantasy 7. 3, The Last of Us 2, God of War Ragnarok. And number 1, Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater.
Solid list, if I do say so myself.
If I do say so myself. Who wants to start the bidding? I'll start it.
I was going to say, nose goes.
I'll start it. When I was in the first third of this game, I was pretty low on this game. Not because I didn't think it was high quality or anything. I obviously saw the quality in it. I just didn't think it was very effective. And it was a game that I was like, oh, this is going to leave my mind as soon as I finish playing it, right? As I progressed, my feelings on it changed and improved greatly. The narrative I do think is great. As we had that conversation about the narrative and so forth, it improved even more. However, I just really think this gameplay is so basic, and they make a couple of small sins that I think really hold itself back that they could have fixed and not done that to themselves. So for me, in that first third, not kidding, guys, I was like, this is going to go below Bioshock. Because at least Bioshock had a cultural impact. Whether I agree with the cultural impact or not, at least it had one, you know? But for me, now, today, I'm gonna push for Signalis to be the new 25 above Uncharted Drake's Fortune, below Halo Combat Evolved.
Oh, yeah. I'm impressed.
Impressed as in, like,
in that it popped up that high?
It popped up that high?
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean,
at
like,
least for you.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like, the quality is there. I think it's a lesser known indie game, and you know, while I can respect that, and overall, I would rather this list be more objective focused, but I still want the list to have a cultural impact as well, and this game just doesn't have that. But I mean, it's quality enough to get above things like Tomb Raider 2013 or Fable, or even like Prey and Alan Wake. Alan Wake is the big one that you can kind of compare the two. Like this gameplay loop is solid enough to where it trumps Alan Wake for me in my mind. So like, yeah, like and just how cool and creative the story is and so forth. I did say when I first started playing it, I thought this was going to be like an Alien game. Aliens, like the 1979 movie Alien or whatever. How cool would it be if that was our Mr. X is some form of an alien or something? Would be our tyrant character of the game? That would have been really cool. Maybe it was an idea, but they cut it for funding or something like that, or they couldn't get it to work the way they wanted to or something.
Some kind of like avatar of the Eldritch God or something like that.
Yeah, or you think it's an alien, but then it turns out to be an avatar of that or something like that. That would have been cool. But now I'm playing in hypotheticals. No, but like I think the game is solid enough to carry it above quite a few of these other C tier games. But Halo has too much impact. And to me, Dead Cells is a much better constructed video game in terms of gameplay and game loop and game design. That to me, it just falls short of those two titles. So yeah, for me, above 25 or at 25 above Uncharted, Drake's Fortune, below Halo Combat Evolved.
Yeah. Connor?
Yeah, I was going all over the place. So
I could not nail down where I wanted this.
This is probably one of the harder games, probably the hardest in a while. It's been to rank exactly where. Because part of that is personally, I would rank it all the way above Resident Evil. But that's my own personal opinion.
Above Resident Evil 1?
I like it more, yeah.
That's
at the new number 14?
Nowhere near there. It's not going
He said, hold on.
That's my opinion. I'm specifying my personal opinion. I will never object. Like, if I'm, as we do on this podcast, Tavin, you already kind of said it, we go more objective. We toss aside our ideas. It's why Phil didn't rate Pokemon Soul Silver above a lot more other games than you otherwise would have.
I would have been outvoted anyway, so.
That's true, but either way. You didn't, because we're intelligent.
Oh, are you referring to when we mathematically ranked them?
Yeah, okay. So it's lower than Resident Evil.
Go back and listen to the Severed review. Why did we put Severed above Pokemon?
That's what I'm saying.
Because Severed was such a unique experience.
It is
being able to play, just dealing with all of those different enemies and switching between them.
Yeah,
and having basically like this rhythm combat.
Yeah,
it was very smooth and fun to play.
Yeah,
and the narrative was also interesting.
And it evolved on its gameplay.
Yes.
And the narrative was great, and the art was great, and the gameplay loop was unique and so forth, and well designed. Unlike this game.
This game's well designed.
It's bare minimum well designed.
Bare minimum. Well, says someone who put it below Halo Combat Evolved, because it's going beyond that a couple of spots. And
you're gonna put this game above Shadow of the Colossus.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna put it above Resident Evil 4, below Portal.
Number 20?
Yeah.
Insane.
That's too high.
Insane.
That's too high.
Yeah. One of the big reasons is Resident Evil 4. I was done with that game like almost like a little over halfway through. I was like, okay, I'm done. And I was not done. And I had a lot more to go through. Signalis, at least, even if like the weakest part is the beginning of the game, but by the time you're past that, you're invested in what the game's having to show you.
I was kind of done in the last third
of this one.
Yeah, of Signalis. I was kind of done in the last third.
Well,
not that I thought the quality dropped off. Like I genuinely think Resident Evil 4's does. But I disagree. After we got past the prison segment, I was like, we could be done.
Well, yeah. I will once again, just to finish off my point. It's going below Portal. I was tempted to put it above Portal solely because, as good of a game Portal is, I can't remember anything from that game. Portal 2 always enters in my mind.
2 hours long, so
and that's kind of the problem. Where it's like Signalis is able to do way more with in the same kind of time frame. But
I don't
Portal
believe I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off.
No, you're fine. But Portal is just made so clean that I can't put it above that.
I don't think I'll remember much of Signalis past this review.
Fair enough.
See, I'm not sure if I will either. So before I heard Tavin, sorry, I keep kicking you.
Keep going.
Before I heard Tavin mention
keep kicking
that he put it above, because the real crux for me is the fact that Batman Arkham Asylum is below Uncharted, right?
Why did that happen?
Look at this guy.
It's me. It's true.
Oh, it had to be two of us, so it had to have been me too.
Yeah, it must have been. So I would definitely put this game above like everything below Batman, right? But would I be so bold as to put it between Halo and Dead Space? Would I be so bold?
I'm with you. I think Batman's a better game than this. But this game is much better than Uncharted 1 for me.
So I think Tavin made a good point about cultural relevance and like significance and how kind of like stuff stays with you. And I think I'm going to agree, and I'm going to put it at the new number 5. Put it at the new above Uncharted, below Halo Combat Evolved.
That is how it goes.
I will say, off of cultural significance alone, and I can make arguments for other things as well, but cultural significance alone, putting this game above Shadow of the Colossus is insane to me.
Again, I come from the perspective of that matters a lot less comparative to things like that, because Shadow of the Colossus, its story isn't as interesting. Its basic gameplay, its basic gameplay gist of climbing these giant colossus gets boring quicker than the gameplay in Signalis does. And I think the presentation is more interesting in how everything is done, particularly art style wise.
I like the kind of larger than life, side.
I do.
In Shadow of the Colossus. I think I would like that feeling of like climbing them and like the whole grip mechanic. I think I like that more than some of the stuff in Signalis.
Fair.
Yeah, there's a lot of your points here that I can understand. I disagree with most of them. I think for your point about story, the difference between this game's story and Signalis' story is Signalis at least has text.
This guy with Shadow of the Colossus being...
Shadow of the Colossus just kind of... I mean, yes, there's spoken dialogue in that game, but not until the random soldiers come in at the end, right? Or you'll get a word from the Colossi, maybe,
I compare them because they're similar kind of storytelling ideas where they're not just telling you things.
Yeah. I just think...
Shadow of the Colossus.
I think if you strip the text away from Signalis, it's the exact same.
But I think our discussion kind of proves that Signalis has a lot of interesting things to say narrative-wise. Yeah. Whereas Shadow of the Colossus, we're like, yeah, he's trying to bring back his dead girlfriend.
Right, but if you just throw in a bunch of ancient tablets that you have to read during Shadow of the Colossus, then it again evens the playing field again.
Depending on what the writing is on those things.
But and I almost want to give Shadow more points because it's at least bold enough to be like, no, fuck it, 100%. What do you interpret?
Well, but there's not only much. I think there's only a lot to interpret, at the end when the switcheroo is given.
Sure, yeah, because they make you go kill 16 things in between. And to your point of gameplay loop, I'm half in, half out on that. I think there's just not a lot of context you can add to Shadow's gameplay loop to make it more interesting. Whereas in this one, context is literally everything to this type of game. So it inherently, as long as you do something different from level to level, it's gonna extend the life of that game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So.
But
new number 25, ladies and gentlemen. Let us know down in the comments below where you would rank Signalis if you've played it, or if anything on this list bothers you insanely, like maybe a BioShock is too insanely low. Whose idea was to put it that low? No, the world may never know. You'll have to go listen to our BioShock review. Anyways, they can't understand. Oh, I see what you're doing. I see
cameras.
Cameras. Anyways,
it's in a good spot.
At this point, gentlemen, is where we decide what we're playing for the next month. So for the month of March, we are going to determine right now what we are playing. This could be one of two things. Let me get the words out. This could be one of two things. When we started the show, we had a grand picker wheel in which we threw in, I think it's literally over 100 games still, and we let a spinner wheel decide that.
Well, the issue is it is still over 100 games because we put the original versions of the games, and then we're going to add sequels in as we go.
To it, and so it's really hard to take things off the list, you know? Signalis coming right off. Signalis coming right off.
It's one and done.
We usually hang anywhere from 98 to 102. That's beside the point. Yeah. That's beside the point, ladies and gentlemen, because at the beginning of not this year, but last year, we decided we wanted a little more agency in the picks that we get instead of just playing random games, because there are some greatest of all time games that we feel we want to get to sooner rather than later. That's why you see 3 Metal Gear Solids on the list. That's why you see Pokemon Soul Silver on the list, Final Fantasy VII on the list, etc. And how we do that is we alternate 1 month Phil picks, 1 month 1 month Phil picks, the wheel picks, I pick, the wheel picks, Connor picks. I don't think it's exactly that order.
Connor started in January.
You get the general gist of things. It is Phil's month to pick. It's been a big question. What are we going to play? What is he going to have us play this month? Who knows? It could be anything. Last time, he chose Ratchet and Clank. The time before that, he chose Pokemon Soul Silver.
True.
What is he going to choose for his third time picking?
Third time picking.
Third time picking. What do you got for us this month,
I feel like
Phil?
we know.
Well, gentlemen, we mentioned that we alternate, right? Like Tavin just mentioned. And when he mentioned that at the beginning of the episode, I may or may not have just remembered that, yeah, it's my month to pick.
That's funny.
So throughout the episode, it's been in
I
the
thought
back.
he had this selected like 3 months ago.
It's been in the back of my mind, right? Gentlemen, we all know me, right?
Unfortunately.
We all know what Phil's, top like favorite franchises of all time are, right?
Even more, unfortunately.
And so, gentlemen, I think it's about time
I think I know.
that we play through Kingdom Hearts.
Okay.
I thought you were going to do the switcheroo of, we're going to play through Mass Effect. And I was waiting for the reaction.
In my head, I was like, please no Jack, please no Sonic, please no Jack, please no Sonic.
And for a second, I'm out the tab in Sonic because I was afraid that was going to happen.
I'll
Play through
accept.
Kingdom Hearts.
I'll accept a Kingdom Hearts. I'll accept a Kingdom Hearts.
Spend time.
I attest. I recently reviewed the first 8 hours of Kingdom Hearts. That game is more interesting than I initially gave it credit for when I first played it.
Well, you did not have a very fun time during our stream.
Right, because it's a poorly made video game. But artistically, it's interesting.
I'll find out, Phil.
We'll find out. Connor, this will be your first time playing
Connor's
Kingdom
never
Hearts 1.
played the first Kingdom Hearts, yeah.
Time for me to get in. I have the game, I believe.
I don't know.
Because I got 2.5, the special.
1.5 and 2.5
I have
remix. As
I forget which one I have. I have one of those collections.
You have the collection.
The big one?
Yeah, the
That's
big
how
one.
we're always going to play it.
Okay.
It's like the
'Cause
only
there's
one,
one that
PS
only has 1 and 2 and maybe 1 or 2 other things. It's not like the big collection. Smaller collection.
Pretty big collection.
I think that's the one you have.
The big one?
No, you have it has Kingdom Hearts 1.5 remix, Chain of Memories, 2.5, Birth by Sleep, Recoded, movie, 358/2 movie.
That's the big one.
Right, but what you're describing the
Yeah.
second time.
I'm saying, but there are 2.
There's a second one. The other combo has fucking Final Chapter Prologue, Dream Drop Distance.
That's what I have.
Why do you have that one?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Why would you have that one?
Why
don't
did
know.
Why did they make that one?
Oh, no, because I wanted to play Dream Drop Distance.
Oh, okay.
That was my thing, and I never played it.
Not a bad one.
I heard that was the best one outside of 2 and 3. 2 and 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will see you again
Up there.
April 7th with our review of Kingdom Hearts 1, technically 1.5 Final Mix, what the fuck it's fucking called. So until next time, have a great time. Let us know down in the comments how you feel about all of the things that we just talked about for the last hour and 12 minutes. And goodbye.
Fuck off.